Welcome back to another episode of Fisticuff Central, and today we are covering UFC 307 in Salt Lake City, Utah. So let's get right into the breakdown. The main event, we've got current champion Alex Pereira facing off Khalil Rountree, which should be a sensational striking battle. In the co-main event, we have another title fight with Raquel Pennington facing Juliana Pena. And the other two fights I would like to cover will be Jose Aldo versus Batista. And lastly, just because I'm interested in the fight, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Stephen Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. I know there's a few other alright fights on there, but these are the ones that I'm most interested in. So let's start from the top, where we've got Alex Pereira facing Khalil Rountree. And there's been a lot of talk between these two guys about whether Khalil's going to shoot takedowns or if he's going to stay on the feet. I think this is a really interesting matchup because of the fact that it probably is going to stay on the feet. I know that some guys have said that they're going to keep it on the feet before with Alex and then have shot takedowns. However, statistically, Khalil hasn't actually shot for a single takedown in his entire UFC career. So I'm going to go with that he's going to continue with the plan. You know, he's got a lot of power. I think he's banking on himself. I think Alex is hittable. So he's going to believe in his power that he can get to him. You know, he does kind of keep that right hand up. I think that he's got some sort of a guard with his shoulder and his hand too. But, like, you know, the way that he's quite tight with his right hand, I think that might help him a little bit with protecting from the left hook of Alex Pereira. He doesn't really throw a lot of jabs. He kind of goes in with the hooks, so he's kind of keeping his chin when he's throwing those hooks. He's kind of keeping his chin away from the danger to an extent. You know, a little bit more than you would do with a jab. Doesn't leave him as exposed. So I think Khalil's looking at, you know, certain things, you know, the fact that, you know, he switches stances typically, you know, with different fighters, and he kind of adapts to them. I could see a heavy Muay Thai style bouncing on that front leg, you know, just to kind of mitigate the damage from Alex's leg kicks, which are devastating and brutal. Everybody knows that. You know, Joe Rogan continuously talks about the fact that he doesn't telegraph them, there's no whip on them. It's just, you know, and he makes that contact and you see opponents just in shock and in agony. You know, it's happened to so many. You know, even my boy Jan, who's got, you know, legs made out of steel, you know, even he was feeling it. You know, he didn't really compromise him too much, but you could see that he was hurting a little bit. You know, Alex, on the other hand, hands of stone. He's got so much power in his hands. It actually, in everything, his kicks. It's going to be tough to pick against him, just because if this is a purely striking battle, you're talking about one of the best kickboxers of all time, one of the best strikers of all time. So it's going to be a tough one for Khalil. You know, obviously he's got a significant height disadvantage there too. It's going to be an interesting one, you know, because I think if Alex has time, he's going to start to pick away Khalil, but initially Khalil's may have the speed advantage. Actually, I'm quite confident that he will. Alex isn't that quick. He's kind of like a weird brute strength kind of guy. Just he clobbers, you know, and he times you like really well. He finds that like left uppercut / hook incredibly well, and looks at your head movement, anticipates where you're going to be, and he lands that too easy. You know, he's very good at, you know, reading the fight, and I think that his timing is excellent. It's something that's not really talked about, but it's his timing on everything. He just understands when to go, when to pull back. Yeah, you know, I mean, the guy has won 2 titles in 2 different sports for a reason. You know, using a particular art form in striking, kickboxing. How can I go against him? It's difficult to go against Alex Pereira with what he's been doing, how exciting he's been. I'm going to have to go with him by knockout. I mean, I think it's just a logical one. You never know, there could be a shock upset. These things do happen. I think it's unlikely. The bookmakers see it as being unlikely, and I'm sure most of you will agree with me on this one. So to finish off our first one, officially, Alex Pereira by KO moving on, Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. Now, I'm not super excited for this one, but I have to cover it because it's a title fight, but disrespectful. And, you know, Amanda Nunes ruled that division. I think there's a bit of a void to be filled. Potentially Raquel Pennington could start something by getting a title defence over Juliana Pena, somebody that actually beat Amanda Nunes, although she was post-COVID and, you know, looking completely off. You know, say what you want, but she still beat her, she still submitted her. And, you know, she's tough as hell. I think Raquel is definitely more skilled. I think technically more proficient and just more, slightly better, well-rounded and better at the tool shoes. I will give Julia Pena her jab. You know, I think she's got a really good jab, something she used incredibly well against Amanda Nunes. It's quite basic striking, but is effective because of her durability. She can kind of just walk forward and trade with you a little bit and hope that you will first. I don't see Raquel putting Juliana away. I think Juliana could potentially finish Raquel. I don't know, but I just kind of feel like Raquel's going to show her level as a mixed martial artist, that she's a cut above, and I think that she's most likely just going to get a unanimous decision. I think that's the way the fight's going to go. It's going to be a ground out. I think Raquel would probably try to get it maybe to the ground. I just don't think that she'll submit her. It's a difficult one to predict this. You know, I'm really, really unsure, but I'm going to keep it brief. I'm just going to give my official prediction, which is Raquel Pennington by decision. Now, moving on to Jose Aldo versus Batista. I think it's Mario Batista. I forgot his name when I was saying it earlier. So, who do we have winning this one? Well, so Batista has got most of his victories, or most of his finishes, shall I say, by submission in the UFC, and Jose Aldo, obviously, most of them actually might be by decision. I'm not 100% sure now. Might be by decision now. At some point, I think it would have been by KO or TKO. But either way, Jose Aldo's looking to keep it on the feet. Batista, you know, quite likely might look for a submission at some point. You know, he's proficient on the feet himself. So, how do I see this fight going? It's a tough one. If Jose Aldo could still maintain his conditioning like he did in a return fight to the UFC, I think he could potentially get a decision win here. Maybe even a finish, who knows? But it's just difficult, you know, when you've got a much younger fighter, a great record. I think he was 14-2 when I checked. You know, it's difficult to pick, you know. I'm going to have to go Batista. I'm just going to go with the younger guy. I think Aldo's been around. I think his conditioning surely has to go. I know he didn't in his last fight, but he's 38. He's fighting at bantamweight. I mean, bantamweights don't age well. You know, we saw this with Frankie Edgar. Like, you know, you get to a certain point and it just all goes downhill, you know, rather rapidly. And I think this might be the one. So I'm going to go with Mario Batista. I think it's Mario. If it's not, please forgive me. But that's our official pick. That's also quite a short one. Not doing a great job. Because this is the one that I wanted to talk about as well. You know, this is the one that actually really tickles my pickle on this card, apart from the main event, which is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. Now, this is going to go one of two ways. Buckley's either going to try to wrestle, which is going to break my heart, and it's going to be a boring fight where it's going to be what we've seen before when people fight Thompson in Shavkat Rakhmonov and in Gilbert Burns, where they just kind of just ground it out, and it's just not a lot of fun for the fans, and we don't really get to see the Stephen Wonderboy magic, eh? But there's also an alternative that could happen, and Joaquin Buckley keeps it on the feet. We see some fun striking exchanges, some wild shots thrown. I don't know, maybe Buckley will go for another highlight knockout reel and doing some crazy spinning shit. Hopefully Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's going to do the exact same. I think this has the potential to be a very fun fight. Now, like I say, Buckley wrestles. It's not going to be that. It's going to be the opposite of that. It's actually going to be a really boring fight. But if he doesn't, I think we have a very fun matchup and potentially one of the fights of the night in terms of like a mixed martial arts spectacle. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be like a dogfight, whether in each other's faces, a war of attrition, but I mean it'll be a display of technique, hopefully. You know, in a similar way that we saw with Wonderboy and Holland. Even though, you know, Holland made some dumb decisions staying on the feet, I respect him. You know, he stuck by his guns, he had a code, he gave his word, and he stuck by it. So actually, shout out to Kevin Holland, who's on this card. You know, I just didn't have a good enough take on Roman Dolidze, so I just kind of left it alone. You know, I know a lot about Kevin Holland, who doesn't, right? So, Wonderboy Thompson, Joaquin Buckley. I'm going to have to go with Buckley. The guy is like half the dude's age. I'm exaggerating. I think he's around the age of 30, but I know Wonderboy's 40. I understand if it's just difficult to pick against some of these older fighters at this point because one, they've been losing quite frequently at this point. Well, Wonderboy had a couple of runs in the last few years. Should we say got a couple of wins here and a couple of wins there, but overall not amounting to any major win streak. Buckley's done sensational since he's been at welterweight. You know, he fought that like 6'5" geezer from like Kazakhstan or something like that. I can't remember, a really strange name in his last fight. So yeah, that's gonna be it. You know, I don't have much more to say. I'm sorry, guys. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. We're gonna do a breakdown at some point over the next few days. Hopefully over a fun event. Sorry, I've not been posting a little bit. I've had a week off and I've kind of just been dossing around, to be completely honest. Not going to make up any bullshit. That is just the truth. Just been dossing around playing video games. Nothing exciting. Just resting, saving my dosh. Let's go. So thank you very much for watching again. Hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. Back to work for me, unfortunately. A little bit depressing. Back to work for most people tomorrow. So let's fucking nail the week and let's fucking go. Peace out.